I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking on our website, starborninstitute.org, you would already know that the title of tonight's show is Pushing Forward. And that is because there are a lot of planets in fire signs, but in particular, the Sun has just gone into Aries, which rules new starts, and it is joining Uranus and Mars there, and Mars is the ruler of Aries. And so someone can be rather desperately wanting to push forward right now, and that air of desperation that they have can be because they are feeling as if they have lost some initial support, and that could be true because those 3 planets in Aries are being trined by Jupiter in Leo and also by Saturn in Sagittarius. That makes 5 planets in fire signs, which gives a lot of power to the fire signs. But Saturn is retrograde or a little bit weaker, and so is Jupiter. And for that reason, people can be having their doubts about the success or the motivation of somebody who really wants to push forward right now in a rather desperate way. The reason why they could be a little bit desperate is because right behind the sign of Aries are 2 other planets, Neptune and Mercury, the planet of the mind, which are both in Pisces. Pisces rules hidden enemies and hidden truths, and so those can certainly be exposed now, and it can be that somebody wants to desperately push forward because there is some truth that's coming out, either about them or about a situation that they're involved in, and that truth can be the motivation they have for pushing forward and trying to get their own way right now. Another reason why somebody can be a little bit desperate to make a new start is because there is a shift now in the emphasis or the focus of our attention right now, and that is because the earth signs have become a lot stronger. Venus is now in Taurus, when Venus is the ruler of Taurus. And so there certainly can be people that are thinking a lot about their investments, or they can be wanting not only to be paid well, but they can be wanting to sort of step up and buy things that are a little bit pricey right now, or make good investments for the long term. The reason why they can be focusing more on their own security is because that Venus in Taurus is trining Pluto in Capricorn. So the earth signs are being beautifully aspected right now. And in fact, Venus is at 11 degrees and Pluto is at 15 degrees. So it's an almost exact grand trine. Those 2 planets are also trining the sign of Virgo. So there can be an emphasis now on accountability, on performance standards, on people who are very good at doing service, but that service can be measured in some concrete way. And so with those kinds of figures around or statistics around to validate somebody's performance and to validate the fact that they can be a good investment, someone else who just wants to make a grandstand play or do things all their own way can be desperately trying to surge forward and get their own way right now, but it may not actually be working too well all on their own terms. And for sure, they're not going to get paid anything for that, so they do need to sort of rethink things. And the reason why there's no money in making grandstand plays right now or being a desperate aggressor is because the 3 planets, including the Sun, Uranus, and Mars in Aries, are all being squared by Pluto in Capricorn. That Pluto is backed up now. Remember, Venus in Taurus is trining it, and so it's much stronger than it used to be. And Mars is also in Aries, and it's very strong. But when Pluto and Mars square each other, since they are the rulers of Scorpio, it indicates that there isn't going to be a lot of additional financing going on unless you get back to these standards of accountability. And so this is a time when somebody who's somewhat desperate to push forward is going to be sort of caught in their own trap. And by that I mean the harder they push, the less they'll be rewarded. And so that's not too good an idea to go ahead and push forward in a very determined my way or nothing type of attitude. So, you know, these people don't have a partnership attitude, and without some sort of compromise, I don't think they're necessarily going to succeed, but boy, they can make their presence felt right now. Because there is an emphasis on sort of backing off a little bit, and that is because the moon today is in Gemini. Gemini is a mutable sign, and it rules communication and change. And so there is the possibility, since the moon is being sextiled on one side by Jupiter in Leo, and it's being sextiled on the other side by the Sun, Uranus, and Mars, that if somebody was agreeable to an interim plan or some sort of temporary project or temporary responsibility or anything that is somewhat shorter term, I think that something like that would meet with support right now. And so somebody who wasn't quite so willing to push forward, but maybe willing just to try something out on a first-time basis and realizing that it doesn't have to be permanent, they may get their way on something, which would be good. Because otherwise, I think that it's going to be really hard for somebody to push forward and make it this week. And instead, what I think is that even if they do that and they have a lot of force and determination behind them, it's still going to be there's still going to be a lot of heavy lifting required. And that is because it is better to take something one step at a time, or in a short-term period, or on a temporary project, because then you could get agreement with others. It's just that if somebody is desperate to push forward in their own way, they may not be interested in that kind of agreement, but that is the only kind of getting agreement or getting consensus or building a team, I think, is the way to make a new start. But somebody may not be interested in that, so we'll have to see what happens. All right, what does this all mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, I think that you can be very determined, and there can be a lot of light on you right now, Aries, because the sun has now come into your sign. That's wonderful, because it can be energizing you right along with Mars, your own ruler, and Uranus. But if it's energizing you to push too hard, I think you're going to regret that, Aries. And that is because people will be unfavorably impressed by that. In fact, they will be doubtful of your motivation for success, and they may not want to cheer you on at all. And that's because Jupiter, which is trining your sun, is retrograde, and so is Saturn. And so for that reason, I don't think that you are going to gain any more support right now. What you need is some cooperation from others, Aries. But if you are absolutely determined to have your way, I think you can blast through just about anything right now. But the one thing that you won't get is financial support. So I hope you think about it a little bit more and try to amend your attitude and perhaps try something on a more temporary basis with a team instead, Aries. And that way, even if you have to slow down to make the time to build a team, then you would have consensus. But right now, I think you're just all on your own, and you even have lost some support. And so, and with some truth coming out behind the scenes about you, you know, you could be feeling a little bit desperate, but I wouldn't go overboard right now, Aries. I don't think it's going to get you anywhere. Just try to sort of stay the course if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, you can be very, very busy behind the scenes because the Sun, Uranus, and Mars are all in Aries right behind your sun sign, and boy, are they energized. So either somebody is driving you absolutely crazy behind the scenes, or else there is a lot of loud noise and commotion and people sort of wanting to force their opinions upon others right now. And if they're trying to force it on you, Taurus, I don't think you're appreciating that at all. And that is because you're not in an aggressive mood. Venus is in your sign, and that can make you rather charming and very peace-loving. And you can be thinking about your favorite topic, which is money and the things that money can buy. So you might be looking for a promotion, and there is a possibility you could get one. Or better yet, you should be selling an investment because it could pay off handsomely right now. You might want to turn right around and buy something else because the moon in Gemini is right ahead of your sun sign, and Gemini rules buying and selling. So I think if I were you, Taurus, I'd keep my money on what you're in control of, and try to tune out somebody who's being loud or aggressive right now, because they're not talking your language at all. And I think you are much more interested in your long-term security than people realize. So that's where your focus should be this week. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, the moon is in your sign today, and that means there is a lot of light on you, Gemini. Remember that the moon is reflected light, and so that simply means that whatever your work performance record are, it can reflect upon you one way or the other, Gemini. And I think that because the moon is in your sign, even though it's being squared by your own ruler, Mercury and Neptune in Pisces, which means people are really not telling you the whole truth about something right now, and even though it's being opposed by Saturn in Sagittarius, meaning people can have their doubts about a lot of things, including your qualifications right now. But with that moon, so sort of grandly displaying you right now in a favorable light, and with the fact that Jupiter in Leo is sextiling your sun where the moon is, and the sun, Uranus, and Mars in Aries are also sextiling your sun sign, I think that if somebody does push too hard, they may not succeed, but it may give you a small opening to succeed in on an interim plan or some temporary project right now. So I think what this represents for you, Gemini, particularly with the moon in your sign, is that you can be going through a short period of transition, and that the transition will be successful. It won't be an abrupt transition, it will just be some sort of transition that should work out rather well for you. So as long as you don't get your hopes up too much and you just go forward and do some sort of transition, I think that you're going to be rather lucky with that this week. So I hope it goes well. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, as somebody is pushing forward in a desperate manner, they may be pushing your way, or they could even be pushing against your way right now. And by that I mean their temperament may be somewhat aggressive. They could be in a hurry, they may be having to meet a deadline, and that is because all three planets in Aries do square your sun, and Pluto in Capricorn is opposing your sun. And that simply means that there's a financial hang-up somewhere or some financial pressure on other people. I don't think it's on you, Cancer. But on the other hand, if you had been contemplating making a new beginning, I would urge you to think twice. And that is not because you lack any talent. It is because you may have to end up working with somebody who is not your style at all. And you know, it isn't just doing a job, it's how you react with other people when you're doing the job. And I think that your manner is somewhat mild-mannered, and that you like to solve problems a little bit at a time until you get the whole thing done, and you can be very effective that way. Whereas somebody else rather desperately says, look, this has got to be done, and it's got to be done right now. They're not talking your language, Cancer, and that is why I would reconsider any new beginning that you were contemplating, because I don't think it's going to really work out for you, Cancer. And I think it will be a saving grace if you back off right now from someone who is pushing forward or who is very aggressive. You could be hooking up with the wrong kind of people, and that would make you very unhappy. And you don't need to do that. You may know a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes. And you know, there is a time that you should be beating a strategic retreat, and I think this is it. So if you miss a good opportunity or a new beginning that you thought was going to work out just fine, think again, Cancer, because something could be saving you from something that would make you very, very unhappy instead. And I'm not sure there would be any money in that, and I'm not sure that it would last for too long either. So remember, Uranus is involved, and Uranus is the planet of instability and sudden change. And that planet is squaring your sun sign, so you need to be real careful. And that is why I don't think a new beginning is going to work out for you, Cancer, but that could be the good news. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, those three planets in Aries are all trining your sun, and it is the sun, your own ruler now, that is trining your sun, and that simply means you could really be energized, which would be wonderful, Leo, because I think with Jupiter retrograde in your sign, you have been sort of sitting on the fence. You may have been enamored with some sort of new start that looked very appealing for you, and now you can be having second thoughts. And part of that can be due to your financial condition. That will change. I think that you can more or less be waiting on other people right now, or you can be waiting to hear news about something, and that will change in April. You will hear the news, and you will be able to make up for lost time, Leo, which is good. But for right now, I think it's all right that you're backing off, or that you're being patient, or going a little bit more slowly. And sure, you have to wait for others, but it's also good for you to be really thinking over how badly you want to make a new start, Leo, because once again, it could start real quickly, but it could end just as quickly because there is an element of instability in it. And, you know, I think that you need to go for something that is more long-term. Saturn in Sagittarius is trining your sun. It too is retrograde, but it is going to do you more good in the long run to have very experienced people behind you who are extremely stable. They will really help you in the end. They may even help you with some very long-term gain as long as you're willing to do the initial work. So I'd consider that instead, Leo. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when I think that you are going to be very, very happily considered for some sort of promotion or raise. Or this can be a time when your accountability as far as your work performance goes can be seen by everyone right now in a very favorable light. And that is because Venus in Taurus is trining your sun, and so is Pluto in Capricorn. And those two planets are almost exactly trine each other. So I think that when people are looking at the facts, at a performance record, or at your level of achievement, or at your credentials, how well prepared you are for something, I think that they will be favorably impressed and that there will be some sort of step up for you. Even if you had to wait until this fall when Jupiter comes into your sign for that to go into effect, I think it's looking pretty good right now, Virgo, so keep up the good work. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, I think that it is very lucky for you that the moon is in Gemini today because it is trining your sun, meaning that you could have an opportunity to get out of a sticky situation right now, or a stagnant relationship of some sort, or at least get away from very aggressive people who are pushing a little bit too hard. And they're not in a partnership frame of mind at all. They want it all their way. Well, that isn't the way you operate, Libra. So those three planets in Aries that are opposing your sun sign may have been making you pretty miserable lately. You could certainly be involved in some sort of breakup even, or certainly some sort of separation, because it's a little easier on you to have it that way since someone else is just sort of going off the deep end and wanting everything on their terms and not willing to compromise in any way, which is the way you like to operate. So that moon in Gemini can put you in contact with younger people. That would be nice. And it also can allow you the opportunity to do something that is temporary, or it could allow you to take a short trip or get some short training right now. And all of that would work out very well. So yes, Libra, there is a way to get out of a sticky situation right now. And even if it's short term, it could make you a lot happier. So I hope you go for it. All right, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when I think that you really ought to keep your hands in your pocket, and that is because it isn't that you're not financially secure, or that you don't know where your next dollar's coming from. I think you do, Scorpio. So it isn't that. It is simply that Venus in Taurus is opposing your sun sign. So I think you've got your eye on something really pricey right now. And I'm not sure your budget can really stretch that far, Scorpio. There's also an element of uncertainty around right now, and that is because there can be a person or an organization or even a country that is pushing really hard and wanting to get their own way on something. And there's no money in that, and that is because your rulers, Mars and Pluto, are squaring each other harshly. And so that is why either you've got your mind on something pricey and you don't quite have enough to cover that expense, or else you don't feel like spending any money right now because things are a little bit too unstable, and so you cannot be as sure of an investment as you would like to be. So it is no reflection on your financial condition. It is a reflection on the uncertainty in the financial markets right now. And that is why I think you can be backing off a little bit and playing a waiting game. And I think that's a good idea right now, Scorpio. You may know a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes, but this is not a time to advertise what's happening because it hasn't settled yet. And so we need to sort of get over this period of somebody trying to sort of hog the spotlight right now and have everything their own way. As soon as they figure out there's no money in that, they may decide to calm down and change. But until that happens, I think that you should be as quiet as you can, Scorpio, and keep dreaming about what you want, because maybe you could still get it later on. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, there can be a lot of uncertainty around, and the reason why is because the truth is being exposed right now, and that can make people sort of sit up and take notice. And that is due to the fact that Mercury and Neptune in Pisces, which rules hidden enemies and things behind the scenes, it means there can be a lot of talk about what's happening behind the scenes. And those two planets are squaring Saturn in your sign. And so that simply means that you may not be too sure of who to trust right now, Sagittarius. And so if you're doubting that something is a good deal, your doubts could be exactly accurate. And so you should be a little bit careful before you zoom forward. In fact, I wouldn't zoom, but I think you should look at some new opportunity right now because the sun has gone into Aries, and the sun is the giver of life, and it is trining Saturn in your own sign. So you may have to do a little bit more homework or get a little bit more training. But if you see an appealing new start out there, as long as it's a stable one and it isn't involved in any sort of aggressive push that someone is making, you should consider it, Sagittarius. So I would investigate new starts and closely look at them for what truth is behind them. And if you find the truth and you are agreeable to it, then you should make a new start. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, you certainly are in the right spot, and that is because Venus in Taurus is trining your sun, Capricorn. And that simply means that somebody who has money or is financially secure is looking rather favorably upon you, Capricorn. Why? Because you have stuck to your standards and your values, and you haven't been willing to let them down at all. In fact, you could be a person who is being seen very favorably because your actions are accountable. People can see the results of them and measure you according to your performance record, and they can really be liking what they see right now, Capricorn. So there is the possibility of a promotion or a raise or some sort of elevation, in other words, a better title for your job right now. And that could be something that could certainly benefit you now, and particularly by this fall when Jupiter goes into Virgo and trines your sun. That would give you more responsibility, but maybe a better title too. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, it is very fortunate for you as well that that moon is in Gemini, because it could allow you to take a short trip. It could allow you to work with younger people, which you would really enjoy. It may open up some opportunity to buy and sell or negotiate some sort of deal on favorable terms, particularly with a woman, since the moon does rule women. And there is the possibility that you could move into something that involves an interim project or some sort of temporary plan that doesn't have to be forever, but could certainly open up a window of opportunity for you, Aquarius. So I hope you say yes to something, even if it is just short term, because I think that you will find somebody very nice to work with, and that could make you happy. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, you can certainly see somebody who's a little bit desperate and wants to push forward right now and wants to have it all their own way, because the Sun, Uranus, and Mars in Aries are all right ahead of your sun sign, Pisces. And you could know a little bit more about why they're so desperate, because Mercury, the planet of the mind, is in your sun sign along with Neptune. But Saturn is squaring those planets in your sign. And that means somebody wants you, Pisces, to have very good credentials or to really know what you're doing. And that is why, armed with the truth, you may be able to get on a little firmer path yourself. And if you are having to respond to people who are overly aggressive right now, that would not suit you at all. You have a very gentle nature, Pisces. So you may want to sort of quietly recede into the background right now and let somebody who is unstable and wants to push forward, just let them get out of your way, Pisces. You do not have to interact with them, particularly if you withdraw or retreat a little bit. And so just let them do whatever they can. As soon as they realize there's no money in having it all their own way, they may decide either to strike out for greener pastures or else to calm down a little bit, and that would be great. Either way, you don't have to participate in something that is really disagreeable right now if you don't want to, Pisces. So withdraw if you feel like it. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show anytime you want by subscribing to it on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.